What's up, everybody? Welcome into the dorm room and Ryan Talbot live in person. Cleaned up a little bit. How does it look?
Looks great. Just a masterpiece of a clean room here. You would never believe it, Bills fans.
Only the parts that you could see, like in the screen. Everywhere else, not so much. So, ton to get into on this episode of Shout Out Buffalo Bills Football Podcast. We took in practice today. A lot of observations, a lot of things that we saw. The pads aren't on yet. They're probably coming on maybe as early as Monday. I think that'll be day 5 of camp. So that's what we're looking at. But where do you want to start off with? Something that you kind of took over the observations a bit today that stood out the most to you?
No, I think we need to start with Ed Oliver, who is our headline here for today's podcast. He is continuing his dominant play. It's been 3 strong days at training camp. It was a strong spring, and obviously it was a breakout season 1 year ago.
Yeah, and I thought, we're going to talk about what happened with this defense later in practice and the offense. 3 interceptions in 1 period by Josh Allen. Very uncharacteristic. I was just talking about it today with a few people on the sideline. It's like they've started off so strong with no interceptions. I don't think I've ever covered a training camp where you go into the 3rd day, well into the 3rd day with no interceptions. Well, that streak ended in a big way at the end. But I thought really what set the stage for the end of practice, the defense really getting the upper hand, because the offense came out flying. We'll talk a little bit about that. It was the front. It was Ed Oliver. It was Greg Rousseau. It was Daquan Jones. It was a physicality as much as you can be without pads on. They set the tone. I mean, I had 2 or 3 times in my notebook, just Ed Oliver, wow. Like winning on a rep, having an effect on the play. Even if he didn't land for a sack, pushing the pocket around, getting some pressure on Josh Allen. Like that to me is like, we talked about him looking like he was in midseason form yesterday, but he's really starting to assert himself as like the standout superstar on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a player that can win his one-on-ones or when he's double team regularly. And it's showing here at camp where, like you said, he's making wild plays left and right. He's breaking down the pocket. He's forcing Josh Allen to move a little bit. So it's encouraging to see that after last year's breakout performance that he's coming into this summer, not resting on his laurels saying, you haven't seen anything yet. We're going to keep building off of this. And sure enough, some of those turnovers late in practice, Ed Oliver and company played a pretty big role in them.
So I got 2 plays from Greg Rousseau that I want to dive into here. And the first was a true sack against Josh Allen, 1v1 versus Deion Dawkins. And listen, I was talking to Mark Gaughan. I was standing next to him over from the Buffalo News. Hello to Chris in the house. Aloha, I'm guessing I think Chris is from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And if not, correct me in the comments. Good to see all of you. Thank you for watching us live here. I mention this every day when we watch Deion Dawkins. Like, rushers do not win very often against him. I mean, even pushing him back to collapse the pocket to me, I think is a massive win for every edge rusher. But man, Rousseau came flying around the edge. Like Deion Dawkins just couldn't set his feet quick enough. That is a huge win for a guy that you're looking to take that next step as a pass rusher. If he's going to all of a sudden start to add that dynamic speed element as a rusher, like he's so long, he gets his hands on you so fast. He's talked so much about his punch over the last couple of years. But the speed and the burst around the edge, that flashed me. That was really, he is just entering his prime at 23 years old. And I feel like those are the types of plays that just get you really excited because Deion Dawkins is about as tough of a daily test as you can ask to have for him.
Yeah, Deion Dawkins obviously playing at like an all-pro type of level here in Buffalo the last few years. So Rousseau to show off that speed and burst and get around him is something to behold. And sure enough, late in practice as well, Matt, those one-on-ones, I noted in my notebook that Greg Rousseau had a great win against Spencer Brown, and it was speed and it was power. And he was able to get around Spencer Brown, I don't want to say with ease, but it was such a fast move and such a good move that he did get by him faster than I think most people expected. And it's good to see that he's doing this to both of Buffalo's starting tackles who last year established themselves both as great players on the bookends of that O-line.
The other play that I wanted to get into here from Rousseau was a third. They worked predominantly third downs today. Mm-hmm. So you saw a lot of the different packages that they would roll out in terms of third down defense were interesting. We can't really get into too much into the details of those. But third down, Allen was looking over the middle and kind of felt rushed a little bit. And one of the reasons was Greg Rousseau was coming in up the middle, absolutely terrorizing the interior of that offensive line, got his hands up, second straight day with a pass breakup for him. Listen, you want to see this continue with when the pads come on, but if you could like paint a picture of the first 3 days of training camp and you're Bobby Babich, the new defensive coordinator, and you have Greg Rousseau leading the way, Terrell Bernard leading the way, and Ed Oliver leading the way, I think you come out of this thing really happy.
Yeah, you come out pumped. And, Bobby Babich was someone else I was keeping an eye on today, Matt. They were doing some defensive drills off on the side field, and this guy is high intensity. If he felt like if something wasn't moving fast enough, he was letting them know about it. Let's go, let's move, let's keep it going. You can tell that when he says something, they're listening, they're receptive to it. But you're right. Those three staples up front in that front seven, especially Bernard with that breakout season last year that came out of nowhere. It's great to see that these playmakers are making plays on a regular basis through 3 days of camp.
I want to flip the things over to the offense for a moment here and talk about a couple of performances that I thought were worth noting. To me, the catch of the day came from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and he's been good. He's been solid, right? Yeah. Like it hasn't been anything that's jumped off at you, but this was the first moment for me that I was like, okay, you could see the potential for him in this offense. He ran a great route working against Jamarcus Ingram. It was a sideline play. Josh Allen it was Mitchell Trubisky who threw a dart, by the way. And I know some people think that I love Mitchell Trubisky, and every time that he makes a big play, I like rave about it. But you see the arm strength on a play like that. And, and I almost just said he caught a ball from Josh Allen because it was that kind of laser. It was on the outside, right? So you got to reach out. Helps the MVS is huge and has that length, but you got to reach out and you got to keep your feet in bounds. Thought he did a great job of that. It was a really nice play and something on a third down. Those are the got to have it kind of moments that on that play, MVS had it.
Yeah, it was right in front of us on the track where we were standing. MVS did a great job in terms of body control, catching the ball, making sure his feet could tap in bounds, coming down with it. And, Ingram was there with decent coverage too, landed right on top of him. He held onto the ball, no bobble, no issues. You saw Trubisky and MVS celebrate the play. So it's good to see this free agent addition come in, and he's been, like you said, solid. He's been good. That's what the Bills need after that top three that we've kind of already established here in Buffalo. Come in, make an impact, make some plays here at practice, regardless of who your quarterback is. And that's exactly what MVS has been doing.
John Robert over on Facebook, welcome in, my friend. Makes a good observation here that Cole Bishop was starting at safety today. And I put it out to our insiders a few minutes ago before we started. To me, it feels like what they're doing at the safety competition, because it's the one really true position battle. Like the way that the start of this has gone, I think the top four receivers, and I think you were on the money with putting Mac Hollins in that group. To me, they're really established. And I think you could probably even say the big five with MVS kind of added in there. And then beyond that, because they're splitting up the time amongst those five pretty evenly. Who you want to call the wide receiver one of that group, that's up for debate. Some days it feels like Keon Coleman. Some days it felt like yesterday, Curtis Samuel. A lot of times it's going to feel like Dalton Kincaid, and he's not even in the wide receiver room, but you get my point. But in the safety competition, it reminds me a lot of what we saw at middle linebacker last year. They opened up camp the first day with Terrell Bernard. Then they went, or I think it was Tyrell Dotson, actually, because he was the veteran. Right. Then they went to Bernard. Then they went to Balin Spector, and everybody was like, oh, wow, Balin Spector's in the mix. That was the last time we saw him with the first team. And I don't want to put that on Cole Bishop, but I'm not taking too much away from it today. To be honest with you, he didn't flash a lot for me outside of he is a lightning fast blitzer. And I think that's why Sean McDermott was so comfortable saying that, like, it almost felt like he was saying at the very least, we know that there's packages we can utilize his skill set right now while he's still getting comfortable with the communication part. The thing here, though, Ryan, with Cole Bishop, that's a little bit, I don't want to say alarming, but like concerning if we get to the season and he's not the starter, where is he going to get the reps to work on the communication? Because once you extend past training camp, now you're talking about game planning for the start of the season. Once you move from the preseason, guys are not getting those reps on the second and third team. You're kind of giving looks for the offense and the scout team. So that's one thing that maybe they push Cole Bishop a little bit more than he's ready for, only because you want to develop that in him.
Yeah, and we met with Bobby Babich earlier in the morning, and he spoke specifically on Cole Bishop, and he said the biggest challenge for Cole Bishop is making sure that he stays in that day-to-day mentality. Like, don't get too overwhelmed, just get better each day. And he said he needs to kind of grow up fast here if he wants to play as a rookie, because it's not easy to get a starting job here in Buffalo with a Mike Edwards, who Babich spoke very highly of, Taylor Rapp, who's already been in this system, and others as well. So he said that this is an extremely talented player, but at the same time, there's a big learning curve for Cole Bishop, other players. I know he's a second-round pick. I know they probably want to get him out there on the field. But as this competition goes on and as this rotation goes on, very likely that maybe he gets another day starting with the ones. But soon they are going to have to kind of rotate someone out of that rotation and maybe make it a two-man race with DeMar Hamlin and Mike Edwards, or maybe Bishop somehow finds a way to climb up that and be one of those two players. But they have to start figuring that out sooner rather than later, because before you know it, we have preseason games, and then they have to start ramping up for the regular season.
I told everybody that I was ready to walk this back if we got to training camp and got to look at this thing. When I said that Dwayne Smoot, I wasn't impressed in the spring, right? And I said I would be fully prepared if I saw something and I saw a change in terms of the way the Bills are approaching him, that I'd be the first one to say, okay, let's pivot here. And I feel like we're at the point where I have to pivot a little bit with Dwayne Smoot. I thought he looked good today. He got some first-team reps. He had one play where he landed for a sack. What would have been close to being a sack in a real game situation, kind of came in on a bit of a stunt, beat Osiris Torrance really cleanly, like a really nice move, put pressure on Josh Allen. That was the play that Mike Edwards and he had cycled in with the ones at that point. So that to me is like, okay, Cole Bishop didn't even get his full day necessarily, but Smoot, a guy, makes a play there. And now you're starting to see it come together in terms of the numbers at the defensive end spot. Mm-hmm. You have Vaughn, who's in the mix. You have Rousseau and Epinesa who's in the mix. To me, it feels like Smoot is a guy. And then it's going to be like, who's going to win between the other guys? Because Smoot makes a play there. He's now established as a guy that they feel comfortable putting in with the first team. Bobby Babich raved about him this morning. He was talking about great family, great guy, the leadership, all that stuff. Old school edge. And here's another thing to watch. Javon Solomon. Everybody's been asking, what are you seeing in camp? What are you seeing in camp? It hasn't been much. And again, it wasn't much today. But I will tell you, I saw one guy absolutely blistering win off the edge, and that was Kingsley Jonathan working against Richard Garage. I thought he got to Shane Buechele for the sack, obviously a third team rep, so you don't want to take too much away from it, but at the same time you got to start making plays on the third team to bump up. That's where Javon Solomon has spent the majority of his time, if not all of his time. So a big kind of uptick there for Kingsley Jonathan.
Absolutely. First and foremost with Dwayne Smoot, I had him off of my initial 53-man pre-camp training camp 53-man roster projection. 3 practices later, I would definitely have him on my in list. So a lot has changed just in 3 practices. He has stepped up. He has worked with the first team. He's made some splash plays. Babich raved about him earlier today, talked about can't wait to see this guy in pads. So it's clear that they do have a lot of trust in him, and they anticipate he could be that guy in terms of DE number 4. In terms of who's left, you're right. I mean, Kingsley Jonathan, made a play. Javon Solomon's a rookie, and I had him on the initial roster, but he needs to make some plays here in camp. He needs to flash in the preseason games. If he's going against third team O-linemen, it's going to be really important for him, because you do want to think long-term with your roster. You don't want to get rid of rookies, put them at risk of maybe getting claimed elsewhere. But at the same time, you want your best 53 out there this season.
I want to give a shout out to my son came to training camp today. Yeah. Caitlin brought my son, 2 of his baseball buddies, Ethan and Griffin. And I'm embarrassed to say they beat us to the Pittsburgh pub, or to the Pittsburgh dairy farm, I should say. Check that out. Let's see if we can get it on there. Look at the boys. Boys got out to practice, taking in some ice cream. I gotta say, the order was pretty legendary too. Look at those. Got a little mint going on there. Got a little bit I don't know. Who knows what they got going on there. But the highlight of the day, they were standing on the far fence, Dalton Kincaid autograph. So, I mean, you come to training camp, and that's a fun, actually, little side conversation. Like, if you're power ranking, okay, you're taking your kid to training camp. You're obviously going to have Josh Allen number one.
Yeah.
I think you can make an argument
Push him out of the conversation because everyone's going for Josh
right.
Allen.
So if you get Josh Allen, it's like a dream come true. But beyond that, I don't know how many people I'd put above Dalton Kincaid at this point in terms of autographs. Keon Coleman has had super popularity. Every time he walks anywhere, people are screaming, people are hollering. On the defensive side of the ball, maybe Von Miller, but it's even cooled there a little bit. Like I feel like Kincaid is about as popular as anybody. I'd also kind of throw Deion Dawkins into the mix.
Dawkins gets a lot of fans calling his name out at the end of these practices, trying to get him to sign. Kincaid would be the top of my list right now in terms of who I see fans clamoring for, trying to get autographs of. And it's a great choice. This is a second-year player who shattered records already as a rookie for the Bills in terms of their tight end stats, career-wise, or year-wise, I should say. He's going to be a focal point of this offense. He's only going to get better year after year. Makes a lot of sense for him to be popular. But, yeah, Keon Coleman, holy cow, do the fans scream for him.
I wonder how much he's overwhelmed with it, because I asked him about it after practice today, and I said, what's it like having this fan reaction? And, he said it's cool. Like, he was very reserved about it. But I wonder if he maybe wasn't prepared for the level of stardom that he's kind of assumed here right from the jump. I mean, if you think about it, if you're talking about the rookie class right now, Marvin Harrison Jr. gets a lot of shine because of his dad. But Keon Coleman, pound for pound, is as famous as any rookie wide receiver right now in the NFL.
Yeah, everything he does seems to go viral. There was the Family Feud clip yesterday. There were all the clips of him in Buffalo, videos of him that have taken off. Just about anything he does. I mean, in the dull part of the offseason, CBS Sports made a point of doing a whole segment with Keon Coleman. So Coleman has really earned that popularity. I see in the comments here Ed Oliver from Pops Mafia. Ed Oliver would be another one that I think fans clamor for autograph-wise, but that's definitely the big three to me. Obviously, Josh Allen, number one, Kincaid, two, and then probably Keon Coleman, three. Von Miller, if you're a youngster, if the parents say try to get this guy's autograph, that's the surefire Hall of Fame player. Makes sense in that regard, too.
Two things. First of all, David Trezilio said that the dorm room looks a lot better. So we got his sign off. That's huge. Thank you so much, David. Driving into DC. Drive safe, my friend. Also, did you bring your dog?
I did.
Okay, so
did.
He was with
not here.
Honey is she?
Yep, she.
Okay, so you got Reggie and Honey. Honey's a girl.
Yep.
And was Joelle have?
Joelle has Honey right now.
Okay.
She's visiting her best friend in Canandaigua. So I'm sure Honey's getting after it there. Probably actually just sleeping right next to Joelle. Just loves to lay next to us and really taking off here as our new dog.
Yeah, I didn't clean. And by the way, Ryan said at the top that it is clean. It is not. Everything
I
is
was trying to be nice.
Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that about you. Anyhow, where do you want to go next?
This is going to be something we can talk about pretty quickly, but a big day for Tyler Bass and a big day for Sam Martin.
Let's save that. Actually, let's get into the interceptions.
Okay, let's do it. What do you want to talk about, Ryan? Let's save that. No, go ahead. Let's talk about the 3 interceptions. I'm ready.
Wow, look at this guy. Gets into the dorm room, gets real feisty.
That's right.
Real quick. So what happened with the punter today, Ryan?
No. We're going to the 3 picks. Let's go there first.
So that was the period that you were watching. So take us through that 11 on 11 period. What was Josh Allen like in those moments? Did you sense a level of frustration? How did they play out? Like, take us through those interceptions, because it is pretty wild to go from no interceptions through 2.5 games to the wheels fall off of it.
Yeah, to 3 and 4, 3 interceptions in 4 plays, essentially. And miscommunication would be the word that I would use for them, Matt. The first play was a long ball to Mac Hollins that it looked like Hollins was supposed to go a little bit deeper on his route.
Okay.
And he stopped a little bit short of that. So it went over Hollins' head, and just Taylor Rapp was awaiting it. It was an easy interception, just a long ball that again, miscommunication is the word I'm going to use. I'm sure that he was supposed to go deeper in his route, but by the time he spotted it, he looked up, he saw there's no way I can make a play on this. Rapp was just awaiting an easy interception. The second play, and I've seen the interceptions talked about on social media a bit, Matt. If this was an actual game, 100% sure there would have been a flag thrown on that play. Christian Benford would have been penalized for his interception. This was a pass to MVS down the field. MVS had some separation, or had the space to go up and make the grab, but Benford grabbed his jersey, clear grab. You can see the stretch of it, and then kind of used the momentum of the jersey grab to put himself in a spot to grab the interception. Like I said, no chance that would not have been flagged in a real game. So really 2 interceptions for Allen, if we're being honest. If you were there and you saw the jersey grab, it was very blatant. That third interception, however, was, again, miscommunication. Josh Allen was looking for Keon Coleman. Wasn't a deep ball, shorter pass, and it just looked like Keon Coleman went one way, Allen went the other, or Allen threw it the other, and it went right to Kyer Elam.
Mm-hmm.
Elam takes the ball back for a defensive score, a pick 6. So a nice little way to end practice if you're Kyer Elam. He's made some splash plays here at camp, maybe gaining some confidence, but like you said, you went 2 whole practices without an interception, kind of overdue. 2 of them were legitimate interceptions based on miscommunications. 1 was not.
It's funny too. And hearing Joe Brady talk yesterday, he said, sometimes you'll look over at him when the offense makes a mistake and he can't help but smile, which everybody kind of like looked at each other like, that's weird. Like, why are you smiling when you make a mistake? But he thinks that if you're going to make a mistake, this is the time of year to do it because you can get it on tape and hopefully learn something from it. And so I think there's an energy from the offense. You started off so well. We'll talk about the beginning portion of practice and some of the one-on-ones. We got to get to the kicker stuff because Ryan got to make sure we get to that as soon as we can in the show. But if you're Joe Brady, you're excited to get that up in the film room today. Dive into what went wrong, whether it be like how long a receiver was supposed to run a route, just like the little details, like zeroing in on that. And then you look to a day off and coming out Sunday. I don't think that's the first day of pads. I think it's Monday. But anyway, you turn the page and you look how the offense will respond to this.
Yeah, you learn from it. We had lunch with our friend Carl Jones, and Carl said, isn't training camp where you want these to take place? And 100%. So you can learn from them. So these receivers who Josh Allen is trying to get on the same page with can learn, okay, I cut off the route a little bit too short. I should have gone a little bit deeper on that play. And whatever happened with Keon Coleman probably should have gone the other way up the field. They will learn from this. It'll get better over time. This is the time to have it happen.
Dude, Johnny Mack is all in on the Shout podcast.
He is.
I appreciate you, buddy. So does Ryan. He is a subscriber to the YouTube page. So we see his comments first. Everybody else, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, your comments pop up when we're live. And it's almost like an immediate addition to the show. And he says here, great updates all day on the text line. I told everybody, once we hit training camp, this thing is going to be fast and furious. Sometimes it comes at different times of the day. Like I know some people signed up yesterday and they got in after the furious pace of the text. And they're like, I'm waiting. And then all of a sudden it hits and like, okay, now I'm kind of seeing, and I haven't even sent out my videos yet that I took today. So I'm going to put those out in the insider text line later today. You can sign up 716-528-6727 or go to joinsubtext.com/shout Buffalo Bills. The Shout text line is brought to you by Carrie C. Beyer, attorney with the law offices of Francis M. Litro, located at 237 Main Street in Buffalo, New York. If you or someone you know is seriously injured, give them a call, 716-852-1234, or check out litrolaw.com. The microphone is yours. Talk about all the kicker, punter nonsense that you want.
Big day for Tyler Bass and for Sam Martin. And Tyler Bass, it's all about bouncing back from a down year. His first season in the league, he was around 82.4% on his field goals. He was in the 87 range years 2 and 3. And then he went back down to that 82% range last year. Bad in the playoffs. I think he finished 2 for 5 on field goal attempts in the postseason. So needed a big bounce back year. And sure enough, today at practice, we got to see him kicking field goals for the first time. And he went 6 for 6 today. Great news for Tyler Bass. Long of 50 yards. They were going back about 3 to 5 yards per field goal, it felt like. So a long of 50 was good. And Sam Martin was the holder on all 6 of those field goal attempts. So big news for Sam Martin as well in this punting competition, because once again, that's up for grabs based on the holding aspect of it, all things with the punting game as well. And, in terms of what they can do, Browning could also handle kickoffs if he were to win that job. So Sam Martin had a good day as well as the holder.
Yeah, we'll be watching very closely on Sunday. You'll be back here once again. So, of course, we'll make sure that you're watching every single kick to see how Jack Browning responds to the epic day from Sam Martin. I saw Joe Biscaglia. He had his notebook out when there were some punts happening in practice, like one of the early portions. So I'd imagine the first episode of the Buffalo Beat is going to be chock full of punter palooza talk. Once the punters start kicking in 11-on-11 drills, don't worry, we'll dive even deeper into all of that. All right, I want to go into 7-on-7, and I know it's 7-on-7, but like that's the moment where you're really keying in on. And don't forget, I got a play from Dalton Kincaid that I want to specifically zero in on before we get out of here. Remind me.
I will remind
Don't
you.
let me down. So somebody said that we had a kind of like a Step Brothers vibe going on. And what came into my mind when I thought of Step Brothers?
What's that?
Bum, 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 ba-da, bum, 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 ba-da. Do you know the song?
I do know the song, but
sing
I
it or
cannot.
no?
No, I cannot sing. I can't carry a tune to save my life.
A little karaoke hour. What's wrong with that? No?
No, not on the podcast. Maybe if we go out in Rochester at some point, we can
Okay.
hit up
So I'll
karaoke.
stream that for all of you guys. Don't worry.
Karaoke.
Or I'll send it all out to the insiders.
You have me so
That-
flustered.
that's the
I
juice.
butchered the name karaoke. I think it said like karate and karaoke together a minute ago. I'm so flustered. I wasn't ready for that, Matt.
I thought you were going to sing this Step Brothers song. Anyway,
Oh.
7-on-7. Dalton Kincaid starts it off. Then there was a series of 3 plays that I really want to highlight. First of all, an Allen absolute dime back shoulder to Keon Coleman for a touchdown versus Rasul Douglas. And the first thing I thought about on the play is like Coleman like cooked Douglas a bit. Like he won the route. He got separation. He got positioning. He made the catch. It was a perfect play for Keon Coleman. It's like sometimes in those moments, like you're a young rookie receiver, like don't you want to just stand over the guy and just, but it's respect your elders, right? That's Rasul Douglas that you just beat. He like reached down, lifted him up, slapped him up. And I asked him, or somebody asked him about the dynamic of going up against Douglas every day. And he's like, dude, that's a vet. That's an OG. That's a guy that I'm picking his brain after every play. Like they're walking back to the line of scrimmage, talking about, all right, what did you do there? What worked? What didn't? Just think about the invaluable experience that is for Keon Coleman for as many things as Rasul Douglas has seen in this league to be able to kind of offer that to a young guy.
Yeah, and I love that in Keon's press conference today, where he noted that after the play's over, they talk when they're on their walk back. You know, what did you do to stop me on this play? Or Rasul would ask him, what did you do that led to the success? Veterans can still learn from young players, and a guy like Keon Coleman is going to learn a lot from a guy like Rasul Douglas, who has played a lot of snaps in this league, who is a ball hawk, a guy that is usually always around the ball. So iron sharpening iron, as the old cliche goes. It's good to see, though, that mutual respect, but great play by Keon Coleman.
New member, Chris Spencer, just became a subscriber on YouTube.
Yes,
so thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see your comments now pop up immediately. Then we got Johnny Mack. Did Van Pran Granger play any guard today? I didn't see him there. I saw him at center on the 13th.
Yeah, saw him at center as well. Didn't notice if he was at guard. It seems like, the Bills are going to make him work his way up the depth chart. And despite saying that they viewed him as a guard center, maybe they want to get him reps at center, because if something were to happen in season injury-wise, knock on wood, you don't want to ever see anyone get injured. He could be called into action at some point, so let him get those reps, let him learn, and we'll keep an eye on where he goes in terms of the depth chart throughout the summer.
A lot of people have been asking this about Josh Allen's ankle. I haven't put any reporting out on it, only because, we haven't talked to Josh since yesterday. So what happened is during practice, he kind of went to his back and had a trainer looking at his ankle. And after about 30 seconds, they just started to do a tape job. They got the cleat back on. He was right back, did not miss a single minute of practice. Same thing happened today. You wonder if it maybe it's blisters. Maybe it could be any assortment of things. It doesn't seem like during team drills he's limping at all. No. So I don't think it's some kind of issue. I'm not overreacting to it quite yet because he's still practicing. We'll see next time we get a chance to talk to him if it's anything. But right now, level of concern, almost next to nothing.
Yeah, zero. I like you said, he's not limping. He's moving around on plays. He's scrambling. It doesn't seem to be an issue. It just seems to be like getting it taped up for some specific reason. Blisters would be my guess as well, which would make a lot of sense, especially in the first week of camp.
Somebody's asking about the joint podcast with the Buffalo Plus folks. Still working on that. I got to figure out when's the best day for that.
Mm-hmm.
It might be like next Sunday, maybe, like before we go to Wingnuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing we got to figure out about that is like the technology side, but they're game. They're in. I talked to Jenna Cottrell about it yesterday. So we'll keep fleshing that out, and we'll figure out a time during training camp to do it and the best way technologically to get it done. Maybe it might even be doing something like this and then them being on their setting and we're both on StreamYard at the same time. We'll see. We'll come up with something fun. All right. Okay. So the next two plays. The next one is a picture perfect route. And I didn't even write down the defender because I don't want to put that kind of energy on him. It was a perfect run route by Chase Claypool to like a double move that I think brought a smile to the face of Joe Brady. It was so good. It was an easy reception from Josh Allen. Really nice play. And it was during 7-on-7. So it was really nice. And then Khalil Shakir. While MVS was the catch of the day, I thought Shakir in 7-on-7 was the play of the day because you had Keon Coleman, who was kind of working on the underneath area.
Right.
And kind of taking away some of the attention from the defense. And that opened up Khalil Shakir, who this is how he wins. Like he's so deceptive. Like you get a decoy to take away a little bit of the attention. And then there's Khalil Shakir running away from Cam Lewis, couldn't stay with him. Josh Allen puts a dart on him and they all absolutely freak out in the celebration. It was a really nice play.
Absolutely. Khalil Shakir is having a nice summer as well. Someone that's going to be asked to step up as a quasi one in this offense in terms of the receiver position. I feel like they probably think they have at least two of those players between Samuel and Khalil Shakir. So it's good to see both guys making plays. You already mentioned Keon Coleman. So all three guys, the whole everyone eats mentality, we're seeing it here at camp. They're all stepping up. They're all making plays. Even guys fighting for roster spots, the double move by Chase Claypool. It's encouraging to see these receivers winning, using good footwork, using good moves to get open. That's what you want to see at this point of the summer and see if they can carry it over further into camp and then into those preseason games.
Before we get to the Kincaid point, I wanted you to talk about the running backs a little bit because you watched them pretty closely today. Who do you think of the group? I thought Ty Johnson was the guy that stood out to me the most, but you were high on Ray Davis today.
I was high on Ray Davis today. He made some nice plays again as a runner and receiver. He's showing that he can help in both areas. Ty Johnson, though, did have a really nice catch as well. And Darrington Evans had a long touchdown run showing off his speed as well. But yeah, Ray Davis popped to me in terms of where he's, playing already, how he's adapting to the system, seems very comfortable. Hasn't been a lot of, not knowing what he's supposed to do. And running back's a lot different than some of these other positions where there's more nuances to it. But he's come in and he's impressed me. He looks the part. He looks like a guy that can contribute as a rookie here for the Bills in 2024.
All right, last thing I want to hit on before we wrap this one up. Man, I cannot wait for the pads to come on. If they come on Sunday, I'm going to be pumped. But I'm pretty sure it's the fifth practice, which I think will be Monday, just in time for you to be out of town. So, of course.
Sounds about right.
So there was a play during 11-on-11 that I thought illustrated the real possibilities of Dalton Kincaid as the number one option in this offense. It was, I can't get into the kind of coverage or where he was lined up, but someday I'll be able to tell you and it'll all make sense. But it was Cam Lewis and Rasul Douglas who had to make a decision, right? Like with where they were on the field, how they were defending Dalton Kincaid, and where he was lined up. He was on a bit of a island, right? And because of that, away from everybody else, I almost felt like before the snap, Josh Allen was like, this was a Dalton Kincaid play. It just felt like, okay, something's going on there. And even though you felt that, it still amazed me that both players chose to defend it the way that they did, because it's almost like they baited them into it, gave them just a little sliver of space. And when he got it, it was like a 7 or 8 yard reception and then run after the catch because he blew by Rasul Douglas on the outside. And to me, that's like a mismatch, right? Like you don't want to try to get him in those kinds of spots. It'll be interesting to see how the Bills utilize him in that role moving forward.
Dalton Kincaid can hurt you in a variety of ways on this field. I think that they're just scratching the surface on how to utilize him in that intermediate deep part of the field. But the yards after the catch is going to factor in big time this season when it comes to the shorter passes. They're going to be able to create mismatches, it feels like, with Kincaid, and what we've seen from him already from his rookie season. There's no reason to think that he's not in line for a huge year in this offense, Matt. I've done a few fantasy football podcasts. I have said, get all the Dalton Kincaid stock. I'm buying into it. I think that he is in line to be their top player in terms of targets. Wouldn't be shocked if he ends up with their most receptions, yards. Everything seems to be aligning for this to kind of feed the ball to Dalton Kincaid, and then let the receivers also get their fair share of work, those top three. But Kincaid seems poised for a big year.
We'll be having even more content flowing in the Insider text line the rest of the day. So feel free to sign up. 2-week free trial, 716-528-6727. Get it in your calendar. 8 days from today, a week from Sunday, we're going to be out at Dorado on Park Ave. Shout Live is coming back there. Wing Nuts is coming up. It is going to be an awesome event. We cannot wait. And guess what? In 2 days, you're going to get these two guys right back in these seats to podcast. And it's going to be even quicker. It's going to be right after practice because I got to run for some baseball. So practice, podcast expected around noon-ish. Maybe we'll even set it up to where we do it outside. We'll see. But for Ryan, I'm Matt. We will see you on Sunday. Enjoy your weekend, everybody. Take care. And now you got to hit the end stream button because you're closer. There we go. One more.